Hey guys, how you doing? I'm Yalek, and this will be the third and I think the last video in my Warrior 101 series, and this should be a bit shorter than the last one, which was almost 30 minutes, but this one I'm thinking we can be done in under, well, maybe around 20. First of all, I have a player on my map and we're going to remove him, and then we're going to power through Jungle Dr. T. So, and this guy needs to go because his rewards suck. So, basic thing with warriors, when you get yourself to the HQ, I talked about landings in my first video, I talked about pathing in the long video. Once you're at the HQ, your job is pretty well done. Warriors work quickly. I mean, if you're going through more than one round of taunt is 8 seconds. That's actually a long amount of time to be standing out there with your warriors. So when you get to the HQ, you've got some shocks to do, and maybe throw a med kit, maybe some critters, and that's it. The things that you need to be shocking. Flamethrowers are bad, so that one's definitely going to be a shock up there. This one's not, because it doesn't range. Machine guns are bad. Not going to be a problem over here, it doesn't range. Mortars, not too bad. You don't really have to worry about those. This flamethrower is obviously not going to rage. And shock launchers. Shock launchers are horrible for you, as they are horrible for every other troop in the game. But obviously, if you don't want to be standing out there for very long, then a shock launcher is going to sort of thwart you there, because about a third of your troops are not going to be able to do anything. So those are the three things that you really pay attention to. Lasers are not great. I'll say that. Lasers are not great, but not necessarily a death sentence. If you can shock them, do it. And we've got 1, 2, and 3. That's it. I mean, ideally, if you can get if there's a Doom Cannon or a Shock Blaster. Hot pots are obviously horrible. Microwavers are horrible for you, but there are things like a shock blaster is not the end of the world if you can't get it in a shock with something else, and if you don't have the GBE to shock everything. Same for a Doom Cannon, because it fires so slowly. Yeah, it's going to shoot and it's going to kill one warrior and a few around him, but you know, we're not going to actually waste the time on the first few stages here, at least the first two. I think we'll pick up at stage 3, because they're so low health that you can just BART them out every day. So why waste that time? And again, we're trying to make this shorter than the last video. So those are the things that you really, really want to worry about. Grapplers are bad if they are going to get bullets. So if they're going to be behind you, or if they're going to see bullet first, then you want to account for grapplers. That can be critters if you get them out early enough, but they do have to hit the ground and land. Keep that in mind, because if they do that little hop thing when they hit the ground. I didn't get to it. They do that little hop thing when they hit the ground, and they only become targets after that. Before that, a grappler will still target bullet and not the critters. So we're just going to go through the rest of this. Dr. T is always a great place to practice your skills, whether it's this or whether you're Zuka or Heavy Zuka or whatever. You got infinite tries, and there's a bunch of gold and rewards, so you know, you'll be alright. Try something different. End of rant. So we're just going to go through these bases, and I'm going to show what I would shock and why. That's it, because that's all you've got left at your HQ. One shock here. Bullet will be standing, we're going to path to this cannon and then to the HQ, so Bullet will be standing right next to the cannon. He'll have his back to all this stuff that doesn't even range. And we don't worry about rocket launchers. Rocket launchers are very, very bad for Zukas. We don't worry about mortars. Same thing. Very, very bad for Zukas. Not really bad for warriors, because they don't do a ton of damage and they fire slowly. Mortar, shoot, I mean, the mortar shell takes forever to land. So the warriors are not killed, because again, as we covered in previous videos, warriors do have decent health, and then they're able to heal themselves up after the mortar shell or the rocket fire or whatever it might be. So there's the one shock, and that's just to keep the our troops on that side of the HQ from being stunned, because then they wouldn't be working. And as you know, with shock launchers, I hope, if they can see any one of your troops, they can actually fire beyond their own range. If any one of your troops steps into shock launcher range, the shock launcher fires centered on that troop, which means that the shock actually goes further than the shock launcher can shoot, if that makes sense. So you can lose a whole bunch of warriors that way to a shock launcher, is my point. If there's only one warrior standing at the edge of the HQ, let's say he's standing right there. Oh, orange. I kind of like it though. Okay, yeah, we'll go with that. So one warrior standing right there and just barely in shock launcher range. Let's say the shock launcher is somewhere south of us here. It's going to fire, but it's going to fire like that. And you're going to lose all the warriors around him as well, not just the one who happened to be in range. We have cheap barrage, so we're going to make use of that. And what we're going to do here, we're going to get a little tricky. We're going to go from the flamethrower up to this shock launcher, and then over to the HQ. That's going to leave bullets standing somewhere next to that sniper tower, probably here-ish. So, that means things on the far side of the HQ from us, the far side from bullet, I should say, are going to be a concern. So obviously that shock launcher and these machine guns, and then this machine gun is probably not going to be taunted. It's close, but I don't know it's going to fall into that, was it 6-tile range now? But it's not a huge concern here, because you want to shock machine guns. Don't get me wrong, machine guns are bad for you, but you can also medkit through them. So worst case scenario, if you can't get a machine gun in a shock, you just throw down a medkit instead. You don't want to leave a whole bunch of machine guns unshocked. Really, the very worst things for you are flamethrowers and hot pots and microwavers. Microwavers are bad. But the thing with hot pots is that people generally put them right out front of their HQ. I have one there myself. It's actually not there for warriors so much, because it's just going to get taunted. There's one shock, and we'll do a med kit up top just in case. And you can see that the warriors up top are losing their health, but it's sort of fighting back. They're staying alive there. It got down to the red, but they were staying alive, and that gives them the time to do their work, which, as you just saw, was, what was that, 3 swings maybe? A warrior attacks every second, I believe. Let's just confirm that. Damage per second, 467 base. Time between hits, 1 second. Which actually gets really interesting on like my high-level resource bases, because the game gets super laggy. So I always count in my head. I do an 8 count for bullets taunt. As soon as it activates, I start counting so that I have an idea when I need to taunt again. And in the game, like, I'm counting in my head in real-time seconds, but in the game, the warriors are not swinging every second, actually, because the game gets so laggy because there's 15 million rockets on the screen. So, yeah, it's once every second in game time. Anyway, what do we want to do here? Version of the same thing? No, actually, we're going to go to the opposite side. So we could go over here to this shock launcher, but for padding purposes, I'd like to have bullet over here with all of this stuff getting taunted and don't have to worry about any of it. And then over here, that's just one shock to get the shock launcher, boom cannon, cannons and stuff. Those things will kill you. On the wiki, actually, the wiki recommends that you kill boom cannons when using warriors because they will one-shot you. Don't do that. That's stupid, and this is why people, the wiki is useless. Yeah, a boom cannon will one-shot you, but that's one warrior. you're not worried about one warrior. You got 64 out there. And a boom cannon is not going to fire again for 4 seconds, I think. Your attack is over by then. So the one-hitters are not concerns. And the wiki is awful. So in order to get Bullet where we want him, which, again, so his back to here, we're going to go from the machine gun on the beach up to the sniper tower touching the HQ. But again, that's more of a pathing thing. That's a different video. I'm just letting you know what the plan is in terms of where Bullet is going to be. Figuring out where Bullet is going to be is one of your main jobs, because, you know, Bullet is keeping you alive out there. So we've got our smoke set up. You throw the smoke where Bullet is going to be first, and then quickly after it, the smoke where your warriors are going to be, because ideally you want him, if you want him to be seen first, especially if there's a laser around. The laser locks onto Bullet. If he's standing right next to it, it'll fire sideways. I love that. Completely negates it. Unfortunately, a lot of people, oh, there's the dog. A lot of people like to put, I thought I'd closed that door. Oh well. A lot of people like to put lasers directly in front of their HQ, so that when they've, like, but a little bit back, so that when it fires at Bullet and fires straight through your warriors. And that's smart, good for them. But, you know, sometimes you can take advantage if it does end up being beside you somewhere. Alright, this is exactly 0 shocks. We're going to start with the machine gun, and we'll go up to probably this sniper tower, and then over to the HQ. That'll put Bullet right, like, next to the mortar and this building health. And honestly, he's going to have his back to so much stuff. He's going to taunt all of this stuff. This mortar, he will probably not, and it doesn't matter. There are no shock launchers to consider. So away we go. Clearing the boom mines, talked about that in the last video. We don't love boom mines. Don't really need to clean any of the others, so we'll just save the GBE. Really do want to be, yeah, again, warriors have almost 1200 health, and you want to take advantage of that as much as possible. Like, don't go crazy on the mine clearance, I'm saying, because you need your GBE when you get to the HQ. I wasted a little bit of smoke there, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, this gives you options. You know, if you want to throw a med kit, if you want to throw critters, if you need to throw extra shocks. So really do want to have a plan in place as far as mines and stuff. And I know this is going back to pathing. And another taunt. And you just stand there all day with no shocks because Bullet is crazy. Look, his health is barely even reduced. Yeah, Bullet's, don't tell Supercell, but Bullet is still overpowered. They could give us a couple more tiles on his taunt range back. That would be great, but he's still overpowered. And it's just this easy. That's it. This would actually be going faster, except I'm taking some time to explain things, but you can be done with, what are we at here? 13 minutes. You can be done with Dr. T in under 10 minutes daily. So, similarly, this is pretty straightforward here. Cannon up to machine gun, all of this stuff will get taunted, and the only things we really need to worry about on this entire base are shock launchers. And actually, I'll demonstrate a technique that I often use when shocks are in short supply. GBE is not going to be a problem here, but I'll show you a critter shock on this, and then we'll probably shock that after. Critter shocks are fantastic because, again, you don't have the GBE to shock everything in the world. They're great with Zookas because they just buy you a little bit of time. You throw the critters, you throw the shock on them, and everything focuses on them. So if, like, you throw the critters between yourself and a rocket launcher, now rocket launcher is focused on critters and not Zookas. And Zookas work so quickly. Mistouch. Still getting used to the new device. Requires a pretty hefty tap as opposed to my old one where it was I could be pretty delicate on the taps. This one I kind of have to pound my screen a little bit, which is fine, just need to get used to it. So we'll get a med kit going out there, and here go the critters. There's the shock, and watch what happens with the shock launcher. It turns and focuses on the critters instead of bullet. We're gonna get another taunt going out there, and perfect. So critter shock can be very, very useful with, well, just useful in general, but very useful with warrior and Zuka, so I do recommend using that. You know, back I don't know, maybe you already know about all these things. I hope you do, actually. But back in the day, I remember, I know the video I was watching, or I know the person I was watching when I first saw that trick, and my mind was blown. And then I went and tried to do it, and you know, it was hard at first because I didn't used to be very good at all, and I'm still not great, but I'm learning, and that's what this is about. So I hope that's what this is about for you too, because otherwise you probably wandered into the wrong channel. Anyway, that should wrap it up with the warriors. I mean, I'll still be showing hits because, you know me, I love my warriors, but that gets you from the beach to the HQ and dealing damage. So if you haven't tried it, I recommend it. It's really, again, like I can run through Dr. T in no time flat. Unboosted. None of that was boosted. Sorry, we probably should have verified that. But no time flat, no losses, minimal troop losses even. What did we lose for troops today? Obviously none on this first 2 stages because we just barded. So 0 and 7 there, plus 0, plus 3 there, so 10, 15 total warriors on the day. It's just too easy. So get out there, practice it, give it a shot. If you fail, nobody has to see that, and if you succeed, you show it in chat and everybody can see that. Anyway, hope this has all been instructional to you. I hope it's been helpful, and if you try it out, let me know. I will catch you later.